welcome to beautiful Muncie, Indiana, the home of apparently Fairy Sprites and Lights at the Minnetrista Center and the Schweet Shiznitz podcast. I am your host, Jason White, and I am here with a very disappointed co-host, Krista White, because we are now about 15 minutes into recording because apparently when I hit record the first time around, I must have missed the button, and we are starting all over.
How you miss the record button.
It's a little button. Apparently, something goofy happened.
You're the goof that happened.
So, we
Dear
are
God,
going to start all over. We've spent the last few days.
You know, people, here's what I want to tell you. I was really funny for that first 15 minutes.
She was great. It was prime material, and we have no access to it.
It was prime rib, and I don't think I can do that again.
She can't do it again.
I can't. I don't work that way.
But we are an 80s movie podcast. And
I told you guys a big secret, and I just can't tell it again.
We talk about 80s movies, your favorite, your least favorite, and everything in between. And we tell you what we liked about them, what we didn't like about them.
I had a whole story about cream filling, and it's just gone.
It's true. Cream filling and Long John Silver's and cream-filled Twinkies at Long John Silver's that may or may not taste like fish.
That just sounds like a bad thing to talk about now.
It does. It was kind of disturbing the first time.
Wow.
But we are going to get into our podcast. We are going to start out.
Jason bet that I couldn't remember that we talked about vacation last week.
That's true.
He's wrong.
We did talk about vacation last week.
I can remember.
And Beverly D'Angelo's boobs.
I didn't talk about her boobs as much as you did.
So
apparently you like her boobs.
We did get a 5-star.
You ignoring me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did get a 5-star review this week. So if you happen to
see the most beautiful girl in the world,
then tell my wife to come home.
Oh, aren't you special?
So if you happen to be sitting there listening to this podcast, and you can just hop on over.
Hop on pop.
Click that little 5-star and write us a review like these folks did at inspiredmoney.fm. We would greatly appreciate it. That means a lot to us. Thank you, Inspired Money.
But Inspired Money, it doesn't really make exact sense, though.
Inspired Money.
I'm a little confused.
Titled their review, "Do I Need This?"
And first of all, you do, but it doesn't make sense to me.
We're not sure
it's
how
not
they
that
feel.
Clear.
They say
you did give us 5 stars, which is great. Love it.
They say I've watched these 80s movies, so do I need the reviews? Yes, you do. Enjoyed listening to hearing about these classics from the big screen, back when we actually watched them on the big screen, and countless reruns on HBO, which we discussed before. We didn't have HBO. We had to watch them on TBS with all of the bad words and naked people cut out of them.
Or on VHS.
When we went and picked them up at the video store.
Blockbuster.
Now, Blockbuster was not out when I was younger. Blockbuster came out in the late 80s, I believe, maybe even the early 90s.
We are watching 80s shows, so if it came out in the 80s.
But we got our videos from the local grocery store. Because we didn't even have a video store in town. We had to go to the next town over, or we got them from the library.
Did we have Dave's Video then?
You've had Dave's Video for a while.
Well, yeah, and then they had Kroger's, stores like that.
Yeah, County Market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and Inspired Money says, P.S. Shelby's review is the best.
So, whoever Shelby is, Shelby, great job.
Yeah, sure, Shelby.
We'll pass that along to Shelby. I think Shelby died, though, in Steel Magnolia.
I'm like, saying Shelby died is not funny, Jason. Not funny.
If I say it 3 times, does she
Do you want me
back?
to punch you? Okay.
So, this week in movie news. I'm going to keep trying theme songs until we get one we like. And then I'll save it, and it will become our official theme song.
I don't think that's going to happen.
This week in movie news.
Let's just stop.
That's not it? So, new movies out this week include Annabelle Comes Home. Apparently she left. and she's back.
Yes, the doll that got in bed with somebody and freaked him out. Yeah.
So this
I don't
is
allow dolls in my bed.
However many movies have been made in the Conjuring series, there have been a lot. If you like that little ASMR sound my wife just made by rubbing her hand over her microphone.
It's because my little microphone sock is hairy.
Yes, they collect hairs from our husky.
Well, why are you letting Wolfie near my microphone?
I don't know. I keep it in a leather bag. I don't know how Wolfie gets in there.
Well, you need to figure that out. Apparently, he's been doing his own podcast when we're not home.
The other movie that's out is Rocket Man. Or not Rocket Man. That one was out last week. Yesterday.
Rocket Man was out yesterday?
Last week, yesterday. Yesterday, the movie about the guy who wakes up to find out he's the only person who knows about the Beatles. And so he becomes rich and famous by stealing all the Beatles music. So it's the only movie besides Rocket Man that is a non-franchise movie. So
I think I've heard this before, about 20 minutes ago.
So yes, we have Rocket Man.
Maybe 30.
And we have Yesterday. And then we have Annabelle, which apparently...
What? We have Yesterday every day. Do you realize that?
Mm-hmm.
And Yesterday will be here tomorrow.
Today will be yesterday.
And Yesterday, today will be tomorrow.
Today was tomorrow.
Yesterday.
Yes.
Today.
So there seems to be a theme here because last week Chucky came out, which was about a doll who was creepy and possessed.
I'd like to see Annabelle
fight Chucky.
Take Chucky out.
And this week Chucky came out. Last week we could watch Rocket Man, which was about decades ago songwriter and performer. And then this week we have Yesterday, which is about someone stealing music from a decades old songwriter and performer.
We watched Some Kind of Wonderful.
And so now we move on to
yesterday
this week.
we watched Some Kind of Wonderful.
And yesterday we didn't watch Yesterday. We watched the 1987
Some Kind of Wonderful.
Movie, Some Kind of Wonderful.
That song is not in it.
But it should be.
But it's not.
So here we go.
Are you sure we're recording?
We're recording.
Oh, yeah.
Some Kind of Wonderful.
No, it's not.
Wanted to know if maybe you wanted to go out. I'm going out with a girl tonight, and she's beautiful, and everybody's in love with her, and she's going out with me.
Just want you to get off the dime and think about your future.
She's beautiful and obviously in the middle of some emotional shootout to consent to date the human tater tot.
This is 1987. Did you know that a girl can be whatever she wants to be?
I know, my mom's a plumber.
I'd recommend you keep your eyes and your mind off my property.
Cut it out.
Why don't you mind your own business?
Really, it must be a drag to be a slave to the male sex drive.
I didn't say anything about sex.
Oh, want to start a book club with her?
Anytime somebody from the outside lifts a woman from a quat like Jen's, man, we could all find cause to rejoice.
You walk out on me, where are you going to go?
I want to show this girl that I'm as good as anybody else.
I know how you feel.
You've been in love before.
There's a lot of things you don't know about me.
You got a shot to be the first guy in his family who didn't have to wash his hands after a day's work.
Break his heart and break your face. Do you miss me, Keith? Do you miss not being around me?
This isn't the third grade anymore.
Oh, you're only 18 years old.
Then I'm 19, then I'm 20. When does my life belong to me?
And this is where we were previously when we realized we had not been
recording.
recording.
It was partway through the song. No.
Oh, yeah, we didn't finish the song.
I knew exactly where it was.
So, Some Kind of Wonderful is a 1987 film. It was written and produced by John Hughes.
Of course it was.
It was directed by Howard Deutch.
Deutch. I don't think it's Deutch.
The movie stars Eric Stoltz.
Mary Stuart Masterson.
And Leah Thompson. So, Harry Deutch.
Dutch?
ended up marrying Leah Thompson after they fell in love during the making of this movie.
How old were they?
I don't know. She was supposed to be in high school in the movie. I'm guessing she was a little older than that.
You didn't do your research?
No. But they are still married. So apparently it worked out.
And they're still together.
Yeah. So that was, 30-some years ago. And, she's gone on to make Caroline in the City, and she was in some movie where she, had twins separated at birth.
No, that's a show, not a movie.
Show.
It's not a Lifetime show.
It seems like a Lifetime show.
No, I think it's on the CW.
It seems like Lifetime to me.
It's not.
Pretty sure it's Lifetime.
No.
Yep.
You are not.
Definitely
not
Lifetime.
Right. Okay.
It's a good thing because Molly Ringwald was offered the role that Leah Thompson ended up with.
Miss Amanda Jones?
Yes, Amanda Jones, whose name was taken from a Rolling Stones song.
So she was in a relationship with John Hughes?
She had a working relationship with John Hughes. She
and
was
so
in a lot
because
of his
she
movies.
didn't want it, they weren't in a professional relationship anymore. He just dumped her.
Right. He
It's
was
like, you don't want this?
Fine.
Forget you.
I'm done putting you in my movies. You didn't see her in Look Who's Talking, or not in Look Who's Talking. You didn't see her in Home Alone.
Who would she be in there?
I don't know. His older sister.
I don't know.
She could have been the one left home alone.
I don't know. Well, Leah Thompson originally turned down the lead when she was approached by Howard Deutch. She then accepted the role after Howard the Duck flopped. That was a really dumb show.
It was.
And then Howard again, not Howard the Duck, but Howard Deutch, asked her to play the role of Amanda Jones, and she accepted.
Yes, and so she... it says she was offered the lead, and I don't know if the lead would have been Amanda Jones or if the lead would have been Watts. It's hard to say in this movie who the female lead is.
I don't know. It's a good point.
Because it doesn't say which role. It just says she turned down the lead. It doesn't say it was Amanda Jones.
I don't know. Let's just say it was.
Okay.
Let's just do it.
So this movie tells the story of a young man named Keith.
Heath Bar?
Keith
the Heath Bar?
Sure. Keith's a mechanic.
And a human tater tot.
What
is a human tater tot?
Keith. Keith is a human tater tot, according to his sister. His older sister. His youngest sister just has a bit part in the role, but she grows up to star in Full House
She's
and
Candace Cameron.
Fuller House. And she spent her entire life being the sister to Kirk Cameron.
Well, I think they're still brother and sister.
Who was great in Growing Pains and haven't really enjoyed much he's done since then.
No. Some people think he's incredible, but
Yeah, well, everybody has an opinion.
Well, yeah.
And some of them are better than others.
Okay.
So, he has a best friend named Watts, who our oldest child is convinced is a lesbian. Our oldest child is, we have an oldest son who's transgender, who did spend a few years as a lesbian, so has some expertise in these matters, and is still convinced, even after seeing the whole movie, that Watts is a lesbian.
Even though Watts has a crush on, what's his name again? I'm doing
Keith.
real well here. Keith the Heath Bar.
Yeah. So...
The human tater tot.
So maybe Watts is just in denial?
Maybe your kid's wrong.
Maybe. So anyways, Watts and Keith are best friends, and they spend a lot of time together, but they don't ever have a relationship that extends beyond being really good friends. And Amanda Jones is a really popular girl, but she's kind of an exception because she's from the neighborhood where Keith lives. She's not rich. She kind of, because she's really pretty, she gets accepted into the popular kids group, but never really fits in or feels like she belongs because she can't have the fancy car, the fancy clothes, or the fancy jewelry. Ends up borrowing jewelry off of her friends to try to fit in. But she's still one of the most popular girls in school and is dating the most popular guy in school.
I don't think he goes to their school.
Maybe not.
I don't think so.
But
I kind of wonder if he's like in school at all, which brought up to me like the whole, statutory rape thing. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't really, his character, other than them showing him as being a jerk and very manipulative and controlling, they don't really get into much of his personal life.
Yeah, because the gym teacher didn't know who he was.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think he goes to school there.
So that's who Keith has an infatuation with.
For who knows what reason.
And so I think he finds her interesting because she is from his neighborhood, and yet she's popular and she's pretty. And so he's trying to piece together how all that's working. But she gets into a big fight with her boyfriend. And
because she continues to see him
with another girl.
Right. A really young girl. And he's kissing on her and stuff. And he makes excuses for it, but it's obvious that he's just a real jerk.
And it times out just right that as she has a big blow-up fight with him, Keith asks her out. And she says yes. And they're in totally different social circles. So in normal situations, these two would never be going out together. But it turns out that because of this particular situation, she says yes because she's so frustrated with her boyfriend. Her friends keep trying to convince her to back out of this date with him. But she seems to, even though she won't admit that she actually wants to go out with him, she keeps seeming to find excuses not to back out of the date. Meanwhile, her ex-boyfriend is trying to use the opportunity to set Keith up to get him to show up at his house for a party where he can humiliate him and have his friends beat the crap out of him.
Correct. Because he does not lose to anyone.
Right. And the fact that this loser nobody, Keith, stole his girlfriend is humiliating, and he can't have it.
That is true.
So Watts, who is secretly but not so secretly infatuated with Keith, is both aggravated with Keith for going along with this whole date plan, and also trying to help him out because she's still his friend. Ends up helping him set up this big date with Amanda Jones. And somehow at the beginning of the movie, he ends up almost in a fight with the school thug bully.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up intentionally getting put in detention because he finds out that Amanda got detention for showing up late to tennis practice.
She had left the school with her boyfriend and got caught coming back.
And when he finds out she was in detention, he sets off the fire alarm, so he gets detention. She ends up getting out of detention because she can smooth talk the teacher, and he ends up in detention with all of the thugs and troublemakers in the school who don't care for him initially, but he's drawing pictures in his notepad while the main thug is carving pictures on the top of the desk, and they end up comparing pictures and somehow becoming unlikely friends. So
yeah, I think that he was giving the thug pointers and tips on
his artwork.
Yeah, so they become friends.
And so later, as they are preparing this big date, this thug, who apparently has gone on to become a star of Chicago something, I think his main role is on maybe Chicago PD, which carries over into Chicago Fire and Chicago
They cross over.
Hospital and Chicago Ambulance and
Stop.
Chicago Paratroopers.
Okay, let's move on.
So he ends up on this Chicago show. But while he's on this show, he's just a big thug. And he decides to help him out, and he gets all the other thug friends to help him out. So his dad's a security guard at an art gallery, and he helps get him and Amanda into the art gallery after hours. And then afterwards, he's going to go to the party, even though he knows that it's a setup. But he shows up to the party, and he stands up to her boyfriend. And then...
It's not really her boyfriend then.
Her ex-boyfriend. And then all the friends are going to take him out back. And right before this happens...
You mean to beat him up?
Yeah, to beat him up.
Because he doesn't go beat him up himself.
No, he won't fight him himself.
Which is crazy. Because why wouldn't he?
Right. So he goes and right as they're getting ready to take him out, the big thug shows up with all of his friends and turn the tables. And all of a sudden they're going to take over the party. And he tells the ex-boyfriend basically he's not going to fight him. He's not going to do anything about it. He's just going to leave. And Amanda says that she can't be that nice. And she goes over and smacks him twice. And then they leave. And the big guy, the big thug guy says, I promise I won't hurt him. I won't touch him. I might just make him cry a little bit.
He's about to make the party very interesting.
But he's going to liven the party up and it's going to get exciting. And then he starts telling all of his buddies that the girls have been checking him out and that they should go and have some fun. And then they leave. Now, this whole time, Watts, his best friend, has been chauffeuring them around. But she's been like being helpful, but then also being really bitter and resentful.
She's been chauffeuring them around in this incredible car that they borrowed.
That he was fixing up at the garage.
Right. And it's actually, the car looked really cool, but it was actually a dilapidated Mini Cooper.
That's not that car.
It's not that one?
That's her
That's
actual
her
car.
car.
Yes. The car Watts drives, which he tries to borrow to take
Amanda home after school, but it wouldn't start.
It wouldn't start. Is an old beat up Mini Cooper.
Gotcha.
Which those are very popular now, but in 1987,
it wasn't.
You didn't see Mini Coopers.
It was modified for driving in America, and that's why it was on the wrong side. She drove on the wrong side in the car.
Right. Because they didn't make Mini Coopers for driving in the United States.
Between 1960 and 67, only 10,000 were sold in the U.S. and then discontinued.
So, and now they're all over the place.
I thought we were talking about the car, which it was more of an antique.
Yeah, and it was a bigger car than a Mini Cooper. Her car was tiny.
That is true.
Later in the movie, when he's talking to Amanda, she's trying to distract one of the other guys, and she's talking to him, and he's like flirting with her pretty heavy, and she's just tolerating him. And I don't remember exactly what the reason was.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The guy with the spiked hair.
You mean you're talking about Watts was trying to make...
Oh, she was trying to make him jealous.
Why did I forget his name again?
Keith.
Thank you.
The main guy in the movie.
Exactly. Heath Barr. Trying to make him jealous by getting this other guy to give her attention with spiked hair. But what are you talking about then?
Well, because later you see, because she has ran out of gas.
Oh, he's pushing her car?
He's pushing her car down the road.
Yeah.
And he's like, how much farther do we have to go? And she's like, just to the next gas station. And he's just pushing away. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, I need to at least get your phone number for this.
Right.
And she just is completely dismissive of him, even though he's just doing whatever she wants.
Right. And apparently Keith says that she is a tomboy, but she obviously has another secret admirer. Well, it wasn't so secret then.
Yeah, he wasn't hiding it at all.
She plays drums, and she has short blonde hair, and she wears like a tank top with a leather vest and
apparently boys' underwear.
Boys' underwear, yeah. She gets made fun of in the locker room by the rich girls for wearing boys' underwear, and then she wears like cut-off jeans that are rolled up at her knee.
Well, and it's convenient, though, because if they ever do, at some point in their relationship, get intimate, you know, they can just grab whichever pair of underwear.
What if he wears briefs?
Is it still? They can just switch.
Oh.
It doesn't matter.
I thought she was really cute in the movie, so I don't understand.
So, well, they did, I mean, other than the fact she does wear makeup the whole movie, I mean, they worked pretty hard at making her relatively androgynous.
I still think she's cute. So, anyway, they leave the party, and Amanda sees how Keith, all of a sudden it occurs to Keith as he's looking out.
Well, before
Watts.
Before they went to this whole day, he had went and spent his entire college savings on a pair of diamond earrings. And while they were at the museum or the art gallery, he gives these earrings to Amanda, and she's dumbfounded because they barely know each other. This is their first date, and he's bought a pair of rings that's his entire savings and given them to her. And she's like, I can't take these. And he says, well, you don't deserve to ever have to borrow anything nice. So back to where you were.
When they were leaving, she takes them out and gives them to him. Well, and that's not part of it either. Watts, when he's preparing for his date, asks if he's prepared to kiss her. And he says, what? And she says, yeah, are you prepared to kiss her? And so she says she will help him. And so she is showing him how to kiss. And then when it gets heavy, she pushes him away and acts like she's upset with him and leaves. And he doesn't understand that. But then when they're leaving the party and he sees Watts out by the car, for some reason, all of a sudden hits him and he flashes back to kissing her. And I'm not sure why it hits him at that exact moment. But that's when Amanda sees the spark between the two of them and gives him back the earrings and says, you wanted to give these to somebody else. I could see it in your eyes. These weren't meant for me.
Yeah, she says it's better to be with the right person for the wrong reason or something.
It's better to be alone than to be with the wrong person. Something for the wrong reason. I don't know what it was.
So she tells him that he meant those for someone else and that he needs to go get her. And so he chases Watts down the road and gives her the earrings and says, you knew you were going to get these, didn't you?
Because she took out all of her earrings.
And she says, well, I didn't know.
I hoped.
And then she goes, well, I kind of thought I might. And then
they kiss and hug, and she puts the earrings in, and
then a song starts playing, and it's not Some Kind of Wonderful.
It was I Can't Help Falling in Love with You, but it was a remake at the time.
Right, it wasn't Elvis.
Nope.
And it wasn't Grand Funk Railroad singing Some Kind of Wonderful.
No, Jason, it was not.
So
your question, though, is, well, actually it's not, because I think it's time to take a break.
It is time to take a break. So we will be back in just a couple of minutes. Probably not even that long. So go ahead and get ready to refill your drinks, empty your bladders, get you some popcorn, maybe some drinks.
Don't put the stuff from your bladder into your drink.
Yes, that would be bad.
Show starts in 1 minute. Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater.
And we're back.
We are back. I hope you got your bladders emptied and your drinks refilled. If not, you can actually pause this and go do that. You don't actually have to wait for the break.
So,
the joys of modern technology.
Jason, I have a question for you.
Do you?
I do. Do you want to know what it is?
Sure.
Do you think this movie gets made today?
I don't see why it wouldn't. This is one of the probably the only John Hughes movie that we've watched thus far. Well, maybe Ferris Bueller, but that doesn't really have anything particularly problematic in it. They didn't call anyone the F word. They didn't have any real misogyny other than her boyfriend, who was clearly the villain in the movie.
The bully did harass Watts for being a lesbian.
Yes.
But it wasn't like horrible.
Right. So there wasn't a whole lot of stuff that would have to be changed. It's not super dated. It's actually one of the few movies that that he made that really says something maybe even useful versus just being a fun teen movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, yeah, it could absolutely be made today.
I think you're probably correct.
So before we get into our reviews of the movie, let's see what Mr. Ebert had to say. His review is a little confusing because he did give it 3 out of 4. I don't know if he gives stars or...
I don't know.
Bozo
Snaps.
buttons. But he says it's not a great movie. It progresses slowly at times, and it uses some fairly standard characters. But it is not about whether the hero will get the girl. It's about whether the hero should get the girl. And when was the last time you saw a movie that even knew that could be the question?
Okay.
So, because in the end, the hero doesn't get the girl that he spends the entire movie going after. He ends up getting the girl that was there all along.
Correct. But that is a strange review, kind of like our earlier review was a little strange also.
But a lot of Roger Ebert's reviews are strange.
Yeah.
So, I never have... I mean, it's hard to say because Roger Ebert's reviews are actually much longer than what you see in the clips. And maybe if you read the whole review, it might make a little more sense. But so now we will give our reviews. We rate our review movies in one of 3 categories. If you love the movie, just think it was amazing, one of the great movies of all times, it would be simply irresistible. If you thought the movie was just all right, then we would say, here I am, stuck in the middle with you. And if you just really didn't care for the movie at all, just thought maybe it's a movie that you could pass on or do without, I can't go for that, no. No can do, I can't go for that, no. So, Krista, on a scale from I can't go for that to simply irresistible, how do you feel about this movie?
Well, I think that you know how I feel about this movie. Don't you?
I do, but the people listening don't.
Well, why don't you go ahead and play it for them then? Simply irresistible! That would be correct.
Would you like to tell them why?
I don't know. I mean, how do you put into words why? I like the movie. I don't know why. Just because. Just because. It's a feel-good movie. It ends up and people are happy and Watson and Heathbar get together as they should, and Amanda realizes that her boyfriend's a jerk, and even though she's alone, she's not with the jerk people. It's all good.
Yes, when Krista and I first started dating back in the early to mid 1990s.
25 years ago.
A little long. Yeah, about 25 years ago. That's pretty close.
I'll say what that woman said earlier today. I was like 8.
I was a drummer, and Krista thought that I would just love this movie. And so she wanted me to watch it with her, and I did. And I thought it was okay at the time. It was like most John Hughes movies. I really liked, like, Weird Science was probably my favorite John Hughes movie at the time. But this fell in line with your 16 Candles, and I think these movies maybe targeted more of a female audience. So, but I have grown to like it more over the years. And of all of those, from 16 Candles to the Pretty in Pink and Breakfast Club. We haven't done that one yet. This would probably be my favorite because it has the best story. It's the one that I feel the least icky about after watching it.
Icky. All right.
We mentioned this when we watched it, but we haven't mentioned it in talking about it. This movie was actually John Hughes's kind of response to the way Pretty in Pink ended. We haven't covered Pretty in Pink yet.
I thought you said 16 Candles
Pretty in Pink. In Pretty in Pink...
Okay, never mind.
Ducky was the kind of secondary male character who was the best friend of Molly Ringwald. And Molly Ringwald has an infatuation with a guy in the movie. And throughout the movie, by the end of the movie, she does end up with the popular guy that she is interested in the whole movie. But that's not how the movie was originally written. It was originally written that she would end up with Ducky. And the test audiences did not like it. And as we've ran into in a number of our movies, when test audiences don't like things, they remake the movies. So they remade the movie where instead of her ending up with Ducky, she ended up with the popular guy. And John Hughes never liked that. It always made him really uncomfortable that she didn't end up with Ducky. So he made Some Kind of Wonderful, where at the end of the movie, the main character, instead of ending up with the popular person that they were after the whole movie, they ended up with the awkward, quirky best friend, which was the Ducky character in Pretty in Pink.
So you have not given your rating.
So I would say that even though I spent most of my life finding this more in the stuck in the middle category, it's probably grown on me and moved into the
simply irresistible.
Isn't that sweet?
Isn't that special?
Now we need to do Dirty Dancing again and see if we can move it up there.
Well, we've already covered that, so unless we end up doing this podcast for a really long time where we end up going back and recovering movies we've covered before, I'd say that's pretty unlikely.
Well, Jason, now the end is near. The time has come.
The time has come for us to start wrapping things up.
With a bow.
Maybe move on to the decaf, some herbal tea, put on some yoga clothes.
Alrighty then.
And or your PJs, whatever you find comfy. Take a nice relaxing pose. And
I can't hold it that long.
Start to chill. So you can find us online at www.schweetshiznitz.com. You can follow us on Twitter at SchweetShiznitz. You can find me on Twitter at GravyBoatPirate, or my co-host is at CrystalWhite73.
We are on Facebook at facebook.com/SchweetShiznitz. We're on Instagram.
Or on Instagram.
At SchweetShiznitz. You can email us, SchweetShiznitz@gmail.com.
Share our posts and our tweets. Let your friends, family, and followers know about us. This is the best gift you can give us, besides maybe a little of that good old-fashioned money.
You can find Schweet Shiznitz on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find quality podcasts.
And As I said at the top of the podcast, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Your ratings and reviews make us more visible and help others to find us.
Schweet Shiznitz is paid for by listeners like you. To be a supporter of Schweet Shiznitz, go to patreon.com/Schweet Shiznitz. Supporters will get access to bonus content and help shape the content of our show. We will also mention you on the air and send you surprises.
Lots of sweet gifts and surprises. So don't want to miss out on that. We will look forward to talking to you again soon. I don't think we'll be here next week. So in 2 weeks, you'll get our next episode. Until then, we will talk to you later. And don't forget to tell your mom I said goodbye.
Bye-bye.